Hello, everybody. This is Rob Fredette with the podcast HODGEPOD. We're going in a different direction today. I have a social media influencer, songwriter, filmmaker, and he is well known. His name is Aaron Taylor. He's been gracious enough to join me. We got a lot to talk about. He has some songs out, and we're going to be talking some of his other stuff, and we're going to be talking about his YouTube channel called Music Video Reaction, which I really liked. And I love 80s videos and just videos in general, music videos. So Aaron, welcome to HODGEPOD. I'm looking forward to talking to you, sir.
Hey, great to be here. Thanks for inviting me out.
Hey, no problem. So first of all, I like to have my guests introduce themselves, as my listeners know. So if you could, please introduce yourself and we'll talk about the fun stuff.
Okay, well, my name is Aaron Taylor. On the music front, I go by APT Songs. I've been making songs since like 2008. And yeah, I'm a writer. I'm a rapper. I do video stuff, behind the scenes stuff. I do YouTube things as well as TikTok, social media stuff, like all that great stuff.
So I grew up in the 80s and there was no social media, no cell phone. Social media is huge if you want to get into that field, right?
Yes.
What's like, well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, there's so many options these days. Like, I was in college when Facebook first came around, and that was like Facebook and MySpace were like the only things you could do. And now there's just so many options and ways for people to like get their face out there and get noticed.
Yeah, interesting, because your handles are very, very well watched, and you have millions of views on some of them, and you have tens of thousands of followers. So talk about some of you said you came out with a song in 2008, Obama Millie. So talk about that, because that really hit the airwaves, did it not?
Yes, it did. Well, so in 2008, I was a struggling musician working at a restaurant in Atlanta, and I had heard of another guy that had started putting out a song a week for a year. And by the time the year was up, he was able to go on tours and he was able to like sell records and stuff like that. So me being in Atlanta, I was trying to get onto the music scene as a beat maker because I made beats back then and I wanted people to hear my beats. So I said, okay, I'll start producing stuff and I'll put out songs. And since I don't know any other artists, I'll put myself on the songs so people can see that I know how to make beats well and I also know how to songwrite. And it just so happened that in the process of me doing that, I started to get popular because I started putting out stuff that people really related to. And then 2008 was the same year that Obama was running for president, and also Lil Wayne, who's a rap artist, had like a huge run of mixtapes and successes, and he had dropped an album that sold 1 million copies the first week. And one of the songs on that album was called A Millie. And it was a very popular song. Like a lot of other rappers were freestyling on it and just making like, random noise to the song. And so I grew up, you'll appreciate this, I grew up a fan of Weird Al Yankovic.
Okay, very nice.
I'd been following him forever, so I knew all about parodies, about spoofs. When I was starting to write songs, I was kind of doing that too. So it just came to me to write a spoof song to a Millie about something. And I was walking around the restaurant one day and I was trying to think, maybe I should put my name to it, but it doesn't quite flow. And then in my head, it just popped Obama. And I was like, oh, that's funny. And so I figured my college friends who used to listen to my messages on the phone that were also parodies would get like a kick out of it. And that's as far as I thought about it. And then it like took on a life of its own. I made a video for it, put the song out, and people just started downloading it and playing it all over schools, all over like radio countdown shows. I had messages from people in Kuwait, from Germany, from Japan, saying they had heard the song in the club and they liked it and they had it on their ringtone. Like it was like a whole thing. And this was like song 5 into 52 songs I'm planning to put out. So at this point, I'm like, oh, I need to like start making better videos and better songs. So I just started like really putting my brain together to write stuff, to produce things good, and also to like come up with different music videos to entertain people. And so that culminated in me going out here because I had people that saw my stuff and wanted to work with me. And so I just kept making videos. And then when the project was done, I had a whole library of videos I made. I had a bunch of songs that I made, and that allowed me to start working with other people once I got out here with their projects.
Interesting. Well, you mentioned Weird Al Yankovic. He was a A-lister in the 80s. He was
Yes.
he was on all radio stations with his parody songs. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, some made it in the top 10. So he is definitely an A-lister. I know he did a parody of Beat It by Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Can't think. That's the one I remember the most. So, but yeah, he is definitely an influencer as well. So,
Yep. And I actually got to meet him when I moved out here. Like
oh really?
he released a children's book like maybe 3 years after I moved out here. And so best believe I went to the Barnes and Noble near in off Fairfax in California and waited in line. I bought the book so I could have him sign it. And I actually have to thank him and say, hey, because of what you do, I was able to do that also and get out to California. So it was very surreal being able to actually meet him in person. But yeah, he was absolutely great too. And like when you see him face to face.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was he nice to you? So you answer that question. It's always nice when somebody that you looked up to, admire, or you have admiration for, they're nice to you. So that's always a good sign when that happens. That's a memory you always remember.
Definitely.
Talk about, you were a server back then. What was it like when it's like the song started gaining momentum? Were you really like, were you like pinching yourself, or you were saying, I can't believe this is happening?
Well, it's interesting because so I've had a few experiences that this one was like learning what happens when you don't have a support system behind you because things can get popular. But like as the song was getting popular, I was still a server. Like I didn't have anybody managing me. I didn't have a publicist. I had nobody the podcasts weren't really a thing back then. So it wasn't like I could, hey, let me come on your show. I did do a few interviews on radio, but for the most part, like monetary wise, like things like TuneCore and DistroKid were like just starting out. And back then, if you sent a song to them, it would take 6 to 8 weeks to end up getting it on a streaming service. So I honestly thought, like, I released a song in June and July. I was like, in 6 weeks, who's going to remember this song? So I didn't bother to send it off and then cut to like February after he's in office when the song is still playing. I was like, maybe I should send it to the network. So, so it got me exposure, which was great, and allowed people out here to see what I can do to where I could work on some projects. But I didn't get to really capitalize on that particular song as much as I wanted. Now, when he ran 4 years later, I knew, okay, I had the success with the Obama parody with a Millie. Maybe if I do that again this time, at this point, I was working with people in the industry. I was working with people who worked in radio that could play my song and get me traction. And so that was 2012 when I forget his name, Psy. He had the song Gangnam Style out.
Yeah, yes.
And so I did a parody of that song called Vote Obama Style. And that video, at that point, I was a YouTube partner. So I was able to make YouTube money. I was able to make streaming monies. I was able to get radio play. And that I was able to make a lot more profit off of because I now had systems in place that could make that go further than I could by myself.
Well, you know that song by Psy there, I was looking on YouTube, 5.5 billion views on YouTube. That's insane. Your song, Obama Millie, is what, 5.5 million or more?
Well, it's interesting. On my channel, this was back when YouTube didn't like you like using other people's beats to make songs. So I had my channel taken down like 3 times. So I'd have to reload the video and then so on my personal page it's at like 500,000. But like people took the song and reposted it, made their own videos with it. So it's closer to like 20 or 30 million views across all the platforms that it was on. And that's not including the radio play in all these other different countries that it was also playing in.
Did you ever think it would hit that stratosphere of 20 million? That's insane.
It's funny when you're first starting out, you really have like I had an idea that parodies were funny and people liked Amelia enough to where and Obama was popular to where I might get some play. But this is like my first time. This is like song number 5 in a 52-week project, and the first 4 songs had gotten like at most 110 views. So to go from like week 4, you get 110 views to week 5, your song's getting like 20 million views. Like you can't comprehend that at the time because you're like, I have no barometer for what this is, or this is going to be like a regular thing. Is this the next song going to hit like that? Also, like you really never know when you make it. You know, you're just thinking somebody I know will like this, my family or friends will like it, and then if they do, I'll be happy. You don't think the world's gonna like. I had teachers hitting me up saying they were using my song to teach their kids about elections in school. You don't expect that to happen when you're making songs.
Awesome.
You know?
That's
so,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's tremendous because the audience out there are young folks as far as music is concerned. That's great using it for education. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
So talk about your influences as you were growing up. I have said many times on my podcast, I don't know how to play an instrument. I don't know anything about music, but I do know when I hear songs and hear music, I love it. But where did you get your influences and how did that transpire into what you're doing now?
Well, I definitely had a lot of musical influences, but I'll start by saying this. I was a theater kid And so I was very much into learning how to write things and tell stories and performing scripts. I was in musicals. And so there's something to be said for theater really gives you a 360 view of the world in terms of being able to not just dive into your personal stories and what you want to talk about, but other people's stories and other people's situations and what they're going through. So that gives you a lens of the world that allows you to be a better songwriter overall, you know? And so beyond that, in terms of how I grew up in a lot of different diverse areas. So I grew up liking everything from hip hop and R&B to country to comedy. I mean, clearly Weird Al was like, I was a big fan of his early on. I also grew up in a household where we couldn't curse. So I had a lot of edited music and things that were clean. So I had a lot of great influences. I think my first CD that I bought with my own money was like Arrested Development back in the day. Also like really fell into Busta Rhymes and Missy and a lot of pop groups. I was a fan of Britney Spears and NSYNC too. Like I just had a lot of different things to pull from because I wanted to be a diverse person that could talk to anybody about anything. And also, if I decided to create, I wanted to be able to like not have to stick in one particular genre. Like I can write rap songs all day, but I can also write a good pop song. I can write a good R&B song. I can write a country song. Like that's not hard to do. And I think all those influences just allowed me to really like tailor that to what I want to do.
So what's a typical day like for you? Are you working in the studio? Are you writing songs? What's a typical day like for you? Because you got a lot of things moving at once.
Well, and it's funny because out here in California, this is like the land where everybody has just like 5 jobs. Like we could all be Jamaican out here. So it's like I do music stuff. I also, I do video filming stuff. I'm actually going to Africa next week to help a film crew with a documentary. I continue to write things. I also do acting stuff. So I create ads for people. And then for the music stuff, like I still find time to make music. Usually I find inspiration just like strikes a lot, but I also walk around a lot just freestyling stuff. Because it's like, you never know if you're going to say that one thing that's going to be a good hook or a good line for a song here. So that's just throughout the course of my day as I'm working on other things. I'll just be coming up with random songs and some sound great. And I'll write the idea down. I always have my phone on me so I can like record stuff. Like even if it's just like 1 or 2 lines, I'm just like, hey, this is the thing for later. Or I'll hum a beat. If I want to make a beat for something, I'll hum out like what the drums and the background sounds like. And then I'll go and do that later. So that's pretty much how my creative process is in terms of like really trying to come up with stuff. Is like I'm always open to, walking around and mumbling until I come up with something.
You mentioned the hook. That's very important for any song, right? The hook, whether it's a lyric or something instrument, that's definitely important for a song, is it not?
Yes, I always feel as though songs live or die by the hook because I used to get mad at rappers that would always say like, "Oh, these other rappers are terrible. I'm like a real artist." And I'm like, "Yeah, but your beats suck and your hooks aren't great." Because you could be saying great stuff, but in your verses, but people are going to mostly remember like that they vibe with the chorus first. It's kind of like the entryway. If I like your chorus, I'll stay with the song long enough to hear what you have to say. That's why I think like right now the biggest artist in hip hop is Kendrick, which is great because he's mastered being able to say some real stuff. And also, he's now caught up with where his choruses are also really, really good. So they're easy to remember because you might not remember all the words to like TV off, but everyone remembers hearing mustard because everybody said it at the Super Bowl. And it's one line, but like people will say that more than the rest of the song. So I think artists would do well to focus on what you want to say in a song, but also remember if you're putting the song out, it's for other people. And if you want those other people to connect with you, figure out what to say and more importantly, how to say it in the chorus so people will catch on and then want to hear what you have to say.
That's fascinating. And you mentioned Kendrick Lamar. You did a parody of that, Jesus Loves Us, did you not?
I did. Yes, I did.
I've heard it, and that I remember watching him at the Super Bowl. That song has a great hook to it, the one he's saying.
Oh yeah, They Not Like Us. That's an example of like it's a very simplistic hook, and that was when he was beefing with Drake last year. But it's like if you didn't, and he had a lot of great lines in the song. But if you remember one part of the song besides the A minor, you remember They Not Like Us. It's like and I think artists sometimes feel like they need to be smarter than their audience is. And most people only think on like a 4th or 5th grade level in terms of like processing stuff. Like it's just easier to have your language be at a level where everybody across the board can understand it. And I think back to the chorus thing, too many people put out complicated choruses. So I just try to be like, how can I make my message succinct in a way that's catchy, but still gets the point across? So They Not Like Us is 4 words, but everybody can understand what you're talking about. So I thought what he did with that was genius.
Yeah, it's a great song, by the way. It's just really just the instruments, and it keeps you enthralled with the song when you hear it. It's not a sound that you really hear on a song, but yeah, it was quite a performance on the Super Bowl halftime show. So you're on TikTok and YouTube. So how often do you put items out on social media? Because I've seen your social media handles. So what's that like with the social media? Do you handle that yourself, or do you have somebody help you with that?
Oh, right now I'm still a one-man band, so I
Wow.
put up all the TikToks, I put up all the YouTubes, and so with that stuff, it's a matter of and it's not always like an easy exercise to try to figure out, okay, what am I going to put out that's going to be popular? Because you hope with this stuff that it's going to catch, and you don't always know. You know, again, with Jesus Loves Us, it was the same thing. It was like, I know that my mom, who goes to church all the time, will get a kick out of this, and I thought it was a funny way to go in terms of like, Kendrick was going so hard at Drake, but it's like, what if I just turn it into like, it's a religious song where it's like, talk about bringing people in and stuff. And like, that's hilarious. And then so to put it on my YouTube and to see it get like 500,000 views, and then to put it on TikTok and to see it get like 3 million views, again, I'm not expecting that. I just know I'm putting out stuff that I like, that I know will connect with a few people that I know. And if the world at large ends up connecting with that, it's fantastic. So in terms of trying to put out stuff, it's not like you can hit like that every time. It's just that you just start to kind of learn the rhythm of your audience. The more stuff you put out, you can learn, okay, you test out different things. Do music videos hit today? Does news about various things going on a music hit today? Like I've had videos where I'm just talking about stuff happening in the industry, and sometimes that stuff blows up more so than like a reaction video will or a music video will. Like you just kind of figure out what that is, and you kind of hopefully you hope that you're going to duplicate that enough times where that consistently happens. And sometimes it happens. Sometimes you learn that you got to turn and change something else,
How long did it take you to do Obama Millie's song? How long did it take you to do that?
So that song, again, because so the goal was this. Every Sunday, I'll put up a music video. And then starting on Monday, I got to think of a new song. I got to either produce it or find a beat for it. And then I have to some point shoot a video and then put it up by the next Sunday. So I remember with that song in particular, I'd already kind of started thinking about wanting to do a redoing of Lil Wayne's song, but I didn't know about what. And then that Wednesday, and what I did was like, so I started on that Monday, I would literally go to work every day. I didn't have a car, so I was on the train, and I would have my headphones with me, and I was just listening to a Millie nonstop, over and over and over. I get to work, go back home, listening over and over, because I need to get the pattern down, I need to get the flow down, I needed to kind of figure out what words I wanted to replace. And so Wednesday was when I was walking around and I thought of the Obama thing. So now I had to go home and write to the song I'd been hearing. And that took like, I think I wrote it that night because I'm on a deadline. So I got to be able to write it. I still got to record it. I got to know it just enough to be able to say it on camera. So I recorded it. Like I wrote it, I recorded it that Wednesday night. And then the next day I had it on MP3. I uploaded it to my iPod and I would just listen to that over and over and over so I could, be ready for when I made the video. And then the video was like, I had a printer that was almost out of ink and I had a bed sheet that was blue. So I hung up the blue sheet and said, "Oh, I'll print out some posters so it looks like I'm running like for Obama or whatever." And so I printed the first two pieces of paper, and then the third piece of paper, the color started to go out. So if you see in the video, there's like a big O for Obama, and like half the paper is pink because that's when it started running out of ink. So I was like, I just had three pieces of paper to put up. That's all I got. So, but yeah, so I recorded the video like that Friday, and then Saturday I spent all day editing it so it could be up on Sunday. And again, it was not a great video. It was just the project was, it doesn't have to be a great video. Just you have to put a video up. It just so happened that people really liked the song and by default liked the video. So that's when I started saying, oh, I got to make better videos. But like, yeah, that was like a week-long process.
That is amazing. You were really disciplined then when you were doing that. My gosh, to work a job, take the train, do your work on the train, and then give yourself a deadline, that probably helps you now.
Yeah. And that's also why I never understood when people said that, oh, I don't have time to follow my dreams. I'm like, I had no car. I had to catch a train to a job. I had money coming in because the job paid well. My apartment was a low cost, but like, I wanted to make music. And so I had a dream, I had a goal, and I was going to find time. I was in an apartment where if you got too loud, they would knock on the floor. And I was still like, I'm going to record something as fast as possible because I want to get stuff out. So when people say they don't have time, I'm like, you just don't want to do it, because you can always make time for stuff. I don't care if you got kids. I don't care if you got like your whole schedule's backed up. Like you can find 30 minutes. You can get like a half hour early in the morning to do some stuff, but you can make that happen. And I just really wanted to make it happen. So that's what I was doing.
You need to be a time management expert because you are really like you've got it down to a science. You need to do a video on time management. I really think you'd really get a lot of views on that.
Yeah, I probably should. Yeah.
So, you know what I like about artists now in the past, what, probably 20, 30 years? They use samples, right, of songs in the past to use their song. I like that when they do those because I think they pay homage to the groups before. They're probably influences, but it's a nostalgic look back at my decades. You see a lot of 80s. How important is that for artists if they use samples? Because it definitely it gets older folks like myself into it.
Well, you know what's funny? I think that it's interesting now that I'm older, because I'm at the stage where, like in the 90s, they were sampling a lot of the 70s stuff. So, we had, unfortunately, we had Puff Daddy, we had Jay-Z, we had all these guys that were sampling like these tunes from the 70s and 80s. And so I'd be thinking this is a brand new thing. And my mom would be like, no, they've already had that. So now I'm at the age where, my college years were in the early 2000s, and now a lot of the early 2000s stuff is being sampled. And it's interesting to see how that turns out, because like kids are listening to it for the first time, and then like for example, Megan Thee Stallion has a song out that samples Sierra's Goody song. So when she was at Coachella, she brought out Sierra to dance to the song that she sampled. And so people that didn't know Sierra are like, oh, wait, she's the one? Like, oh my God. So I find that fascinating. For me, I like to look for obscure samples that people aren't using, because I think that there are a lot of artists out there that surprisingly like have talents that I didn't know about. Like, for example, do you know a guy named Arthur Miller?
No.
Okay, so I think it was Arthur Miller. That might be his name. He had a song out called Fire, like a long time ago. Like it was in the 60s, like Fire, da, 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 bid you to burn. Da, da, da. So I watch a lot of YouTube. There's a guy named Todd in the Shadows that reviewed, he has a series called One Hit Wonderland, where he goes over one hit wonders. And so he talked about that song, and I was like, oh, that's a really great beat. Like, I like that beat. I like that fire. So I found the song, so like the 1960s, and I sampled it. I re-looped the beat. I add the fire in there, and then I did a song. I think the time that I made the song, there were like 3 incidents that happened where there were Black people that were getting called out for stuff that they didn't do. Like one guy was sleeping in his dorm room, and this lady called him out like, oh, this guy's here and he's trying to break into something. And it's like, that wasn't happening. The lady with the barbecue, when she like called the people in the barbecue. So I made a song about that, about how people keep yelling fire on us and nothing's really happening. But it's like that sample, it's like someone would say, oh my God, that's a great sample. I could be like, yeah, that's from a 1960s artist that called Arthur, he had called the Arthur Miller Band, and I just randomly found the song and it worked great. Like, I like being able to bring out the history of songs that may have been forgotten, because I think once works are made, like it's very easy for them to kind of go away if people aren't talking about them.
Mm-hmm. Rihanna's done some samples of Soft Cell from the early 80s on one of her
Yes.
songs.
Oh, that was SOS. Yes.
Yes, that's a great one, man. That's like one of the biggest one-hit wonders of all time, Tainted Love. And then also, I think she has one with Michael Jackson as well on her.
Oh,
song.
she has so many. She did when I was sampling Santana, Wild Thoughts. The one with Michael Jackson was, oh God, I know these songs. I listen to them all the time.
Dirty Diana?
No, not Dirty Diana. She was sampling I'm a Sama Maku-san.
Yeah.
What are we starting something? Yeah. Take me away. All those
That's
days.
cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you also have another feature on one of your handles. It's called Music Video Reaction. So when I was watching it, I am an 80s video guy. I love watching 80s videos. It shows a time when you look back and things look simple in music, the dress, the cars, just everything like that. Things seem so simple back then. So there's a couple songs that you music video reaction, and one of them was Eddie Money Shaking, and that's like one of the greater songs from the early 80s. And I like the way you reviewed that, and that was a lot of fun. And I had to play that song a couple of times after I watched your video of it.
Well, thanks. When I started that series, like I there was a point, like maybe a couple years ago, where I realized but the music choices I was making was starting to get repetitive. And like I said, I want to have like a mixture of stuff when I'm bumping my iPhone or in my car. And so I just said, you know what? I'm just going to start sporadically listening to whatever. Like I'm gonna find just random songs that I don't know and react to them and see if I like them. And so there's been new artists that have come out that I've reacted to because I wanted to kind of keep up with the newer stuff. But also there's like so much stuff. I was born in the 80s, and there was so much stuff that as a kid, you're not really cognizant yet of all the music that's out there beyond just what your parents are playing. And so I was like, I want to know what other things are out there. So that name just randomly came up. And I was like, oh, I think maybe somebody might have requested it. I'm not sure if somebody requested it or if I just randomly saw it on YouTube. But either way, I said, okay, again, before I listen to it, I don't know what the song's about. I don't know how it's going to sound. So I just say, okay, it looks like from the thumbnail, it looks like an 80s song. So I'm going to just play it and go. And you never know. Sometimes you hear stuff like people got mad because Running Up That Hill was very popular because of Stranger Things. And so I reacted to it and said, this is terrible. And people got on me about that. And they were like, you need to listen to more of her stuff. I said, fine, I'll listen to more of her stuff. And the more of her stuff I listened to, I liked more of her stuff. I didn't like that song, but I liked other things she put out. So it just opened me to like this world of like, just because these songs came out earlier, it doesn't mean that they still don't hit. And
Right.
so I try to be cognizant of that now as I listen to stuff now. Because even now, like there's a 80s mix on my phone. And there's a few songs that I've heard as of late that I'm like, oh, I never heard that song before, but I could see why it was a hit, and I can totally add this to a mix today and listen to it.
That's great. I love you said it had a great guitar riff. It's got a great hook on their guitar riff in that song.
Yeah.
A lot of other great songs too, but yeah, that song I remember that song when it came out in the early 80s. I was in high school. That was a rocking song. So
Yeah.
another one I saw was the Jacksons' Torture. Came out in the mid 80s. And when I was watching, I forgot what the video is about because it's the Jacksons with Michael Jackson. And then Michael Jackson doesn't even show up until like 2.5 minutes into the video, which I totally forgot about. But talk about that video because I thought I could have sworn I saw a mask that said V for Vendetta. I don't know if you did.
It's so funny, like, because again, a lot of these songs that I just listen to on mixes, I don't realize like, oh, these songs have videos. So it was actually my fiance that had wanted me to react to that song because I think at that point I'd maybe heard the song, but it'd been so long ago and I didn't know it had a video. And then seeing the video, it's like Michael's in it, but he's like barely there. Like he must have been like, I think I'm obligated to make a cameo because they're my family. So I'm gonna be in, hey, what's up? And I'm out. Like it's most of the other Jacksons in it. But yeah, like it was very reminiscent of Thriller, but just with a lot more like supernatural elements and stuff. Like it was just an interesting video. And I think the 80s was the time when, MTV launched in 81. And so people were a lot more excited about, oh my God, we can like finally add videos to our songs. Like, what should that be about? And it was a lot more, in my opinion, a lot more creativity back then versus now, which is kind of like, okay, I see a lot of like almost homemade videos like, hey, we're at the beach. Hey, look at us. We're in concert. Oh, now we're back at the hotel. Like, why am I watching that? I want to see something. I want to see a story told, So I appreciate a lot of the 80s videos. Even if I don't like the songs, a lot of the storytelling is like amazing.
Yeah. And, the videos back then and the videos were like an enhancement of the songs. And actually, had there not been videos, some of the groups in the 80s and, moving on may have not had been as popular, but the videos, I mean, I remember watching, they used to have the MTV video world premiere every night.
Yep. Oh, I missed that.
Premiere video every night. And you'd sit there and you'd watch it. And at 8 o'clock, I think it was Eastern time. And you'd go to school the next day and talk about the videos. You'd see Motley Crue one night, you'd see Michael Jackson the next night, you'd see Whitney Houston, the Dire Straits. So you'd see all these groups in the 80s. And that really, really enhanced all genres because there was only a few genres back in the 80s. There was pop, punk, heavy metal, rock, R&B, maybe rap. And
rap was just starting at the time, so it was like rap was just getting into the picture. But yeah,
and then there's like there's like 30. There's like I was on my Apple phone today, and there's like 40 or 50 genres that have just like branched out over the years.
Yep,
and it's amazing over the years how music is really like transformed.
Well, a lot of the genres started to intermingle because nowadays you'll see like, oh, I'm a hip hop artist, but I'm going to do a country album, or oh, I'm a country artist and I'm going to do pop now, or I'm going to stay in my lane, but I'm going to add a few songs in here that infuse those things. And again, that just opens up the world, because I think some people don't get exposed to certain stuff because they don't want to jump out of their genre. So it's the artist's responsibility to then bring that to their audience. So they'll know, hey, this music is cool too.
Yeah, and Michael Jackson in the 80s, he was the biggest music star in the world. I mean, hands down, you can't even compare anybody to him at that time.
Yeah.
But he had Paul McCartney did it. They did a duet together, or they did a song together. Mick Jagger did a song with Michael Jackson,
Yeah.
State of Shock, and then Eddie Van Halen did a little cameo on his guitar and Beat It, and that's how he crossed over to rock and roll in the '60s and the '70s with those guys, because those guys definitely got back into the mainstream with him.
Yep, and Mike was because my album was the bad album because that's when I was conscious of this stuff, and so he had like singers from all of the different countries and stuff, from like Liberia and from other places. He also had Stevie Wonder in there, which was great. But yeah, like he was really good at just like branching out and saying, okay, I've been to this country and this is going to influence the sound of this song here. And oh, I went to this country and found this artist, I'm going to put them on the song here, singing in a different language. Like he was really, really great about that.
One of my favorite one-hit wonder songs, Somebody's Watching Me, my Rockwell.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson with the background vocals. I love that song. Had he not been on that song would have been probably nothing.
Yeah, definitely.
Video's pretty cool too. You should do it on the video on that one, because that has a lot of truth today.
That was a weird video also. I mean, I know it ends with him being in the shower, just like, oh, this was all a dream or something. But yeah, it was cool though, because it's like a lot of those guys in the 80s too, you wouldn't recognize they were like singing on backgrounds, of course. Like there were several songs that Michael Jackson was just on in the background, just singing. You never know. Like, yep, just here. Yep. I heard a song today with, it was Stevie Wonder's Part-Time Lover. And I'm hearing the riff. I'm like, is that Luther Vandross in the background? Like that was totally Luther Vandross.
Was it really?
So yeah, the da-da-da-da-da-da, that's Luther Vandross singing that. Just randomly.
I'll have to play that song tonight. That's amazing. Oh my!
You'll see the vocal tenor is so much different because Stevie has a certain sound to him. So yeah, that riff is all Luther.
Wow. And you also did one on the Rolling Stones, one of my favorite rock groups, but it was a song, an album that came out just recently for within the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Simmons, Angry. I loved your take on it because you live in what, LA, right?
Yes.
And you said that Sunset Strip is not that long. I thought that was funny. I love that part in the video that you were doing. That was great.
Well, yeah, well, the part they were specifically like the road that they were on, they just kept reusing the same scenery because, like, I know like those buildings where they're at. There's a Carney's hot dog place that's like it's literally like built inside of a train, and it's on that same street. So I know the landmarks there. I can tell if you're just shooting on the same strip of part of the because Sunset is a pretty long road, but they were using like less than a mile of it to make the video. So yeah, when you're here, it's funny moving here. A lot of the locations I used to see on TV and in music videos, I've seen all of them now. Because they're just it's over there. Oh, that was shot right there. Like it's all over the place.
My wife and I have been to LA a couple of times. We actually stayed in the Sunset Strip. What about 2008? It's a great place. It's a lot of fun. LA's a great town. But yeah, that video was pretty good that they did because in the video you see the chronology of the Rolling Stones when they were young. It was
I liked it a lot. Yeah.
It was really good. So talk about, you said you're doing a documentary in Africa. What's that all about? Because I love documentaries. I love nonfiction. I love seeing things from the past, historical. What's the documentary about?
So this isn't anything that I personally made. This is just, I'm part of the film crew. I'm helping out with them because they film most of it. So this is like the last part, but the people I'm working with, they're working on a documentary basically about like parts of the world where people tend to live the longest and like why that is, what is it about those areas that allows that to happen. And so this particular part of it is we're going to Africa to interview people there that have also lived a long time and see what they think it is that allowed that to happen.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long are you going to there for? That's going to be a fascinating trip.
Yeah. This is actually my first time going to any part of Africa whatsoever. So we're going to Kenya and it's 10 days. So I'll be out there. And while I'm out there, it's because, I have to film their stuff. And I find also when I'm out and about, I have time to film my own things. So like last year, I went to Bali and I went with a group of people. And while I was there, I was sporadically filming parts of a music video that I still need to edit. But it's like, oh, I'm here. How often do I get to travel like this? Like I'm going to use this to my advantage and film some stuff that I use for my personal channel. So I don't know if I'll film anything for myself while I'm out there, but I definitely am thinking about songs I could potentially use if I wanted to like just be walking down the street of Africa and singing some stuff. Like, I don't know. You never know what happens, But the documentary itself will be really fun too.
So what other projects do you have coming up? And talk about anything that we have not covered about your career.
Okay, well, right now I have a single out. It's a very timely single, but it's a song called 1000 Baby Oil Bottles. And it's sort of like riffing off of, because Puff Daddy's on trial now for doing all types of horrendous stuff. But when they sieged his place, they found 1,000 bottles of baby oil in his hotel or in his living residence or whatever like that. So I thought it'd be funny to make a song where the chorus is like, I'm slicker than 1,000 baby oil bottles. If you ask him, did he do it? I'm like, yeah, I'm popping my like that. And then just the song itself was just riffing off of just being a cool guy and whatever. But like there's little mentions in there that correlate with Diddy and stuff like that. But I made the song because my niece, who is like 7 years old, produced the beat. And so I went home like a couple years ago and she was trying to play on my mom's piano. And she was like, my mom's in a very small apartment. So she's like, you can't play on the piano, it's too loud. So I have a music beat making thing on my computer. So we went to a room and I was like, hey, you can play the piano on my computer. And so she started just randomly playing stuff. And there was like a 3-second riff there that I was like, wait a minute, like that's really good. Like that beat is really, really good. If I add some drums to it and maybe some more riffs in the chorus, that could be a song. So after she made the little riff, I sat there and put together a little beat, and then I just kind of sat on it. And then when I thought of the 1,000 bottle baby oil song, I was like, oh, that'd be a great beat to use. So I was able to like use that beat to make that song. And then my niece very much got a kick out of it. Like, oh, my uncle produced the beat. Like, so I'm very happy to her be able to see and feel what it's like when you like make something and then you put it out there. So that song's currently out. And then I'm also, last year I put out my album, Allow Me to Reintroduce Myself, Volume 1, which is a collection of basically like 18 previous songs that I had made that weren't on streaming services yet. And then I added Jesus Loves Us and another couple of songs that I had just made. So right now I'm working on part 2 of that because I basically have like 60 to 65 songs that aren't on streaming yet that I'm just trying to get out there. So I'm working on that one. And I'm also working on a new project with like all new material as well.
How do you remember? I've always said I always like commend people, music artists, groups for performing or recording. How do you remember your lyrics to the songs, and how do you have to go back and rehearse, or is it just natural for you if you had to go back and sing a song?
If I'll say this, even with my own songs, if I haven't heard it in a while, it can be very, very hard to remember it. If it's a new song, it's even harder because I have to, it's almost like I write the song and then as I'm recording it, I'm kind of memorizing it because I have to keep saying it over and over again. But I'm also at the point where I can record a song in like 3 takes. So basically I have to record the song and then basically be narcissistic for like 3 days and just listen to it in my car like over and over and over and over until I'm able to like say it without missing a beat. And so like with Jesus Loves Us, that took me like about 3 weeks. Because there's parts in there that like surprises pop up and then I got to change to something else. And so, and even though it's only one verse and then like a refrain, it's still like the style of that is like you have to learn that style. And then you have to remember that words go there. And then you have to like make sure you're not tripping up on your own words. So it can take a minute, but like if you listen to your stuff consistently before you perform, then it's pretty easy.
Yeah, I love the process. Just the way you've explained your process in this episode, it's quite fascinating because you're disciplined, you're focused. That's why groups, when before they go to a concert, the sound check is like just to make sure you got everything sounding good, the voices sounding good, the equipment. I guess it's just a run through just to make sure the concert sounds perfect.
Well, also too, I mean, because most artists won't admit this, but if you ever watch like concert documentaries where they sometimes like pan from like the back, so they'll pan from like where the stage is to see the audience. You'll see on the stage they got teleprompters. So artists go out there with teleprompters to be able to glance at their words in case they forget.
Huh? I didn't know that.
Yep,
that's wild.
Now, people coming up, we don't have that luxury. We can't afford that. So we have to memorize all the stuff. But for people that are established, like, yeah, they're not missing the words. They're right on there. There'll be like 2 lights like right here, and then it'll look like a light, but it's really a teleprompter.
Yeah, it was like the Stones in that video there. That was all CGI. I'm sure that video cost millions to make. They can afford that, right?
Well, these days, I would hope by now making graphics like that wouldn't cost as much money because most of these videos these days just go to YouTube. And unless they're YouTube partners, I mean, they probably get a decent amount of views to where they'd make a decent amount of money back on the thing, but like not millions of dollars back. So I would hope there'd be a little bit of a cheaper process.
Yeah, I remember the Stones came here to Memphis, oh God, 1990, 2000. I think they had 20, 25 trailers with their concerts. it was massive. It was like in the 20 to 25 range for the concert, and they just come and perform. And then I always like the process of concerts or shows where people work the setup, breakdown.
Mhm.
It's quite cool to see, and then people are just there to enjoy it, and it's just pretty awesome. Again, you had the hit song in 2008. You've also had Jesus Loves Us. Do you have to get like permission from the artist to do that if you do a parody? How does that work?
Well, interesting because with parody law, like the way Weird Al would do it is he would still hit up the artist and say, "Hey, I'm doing your song. Just so you know, it's a parody. Parody is technically protected under the law because it's basically it's treated as a commentary on a previous work. So with a lot of my parodies, like I'll personally remake the beat. Like I'm not stealing their beat. Like with the Obama song, I literally just figured out the 5 notes that were used in a milli and just found them on my Fruity Loops and remade it. You know, and so that's the same with like a lot of my other songs too. So basically, they can't technically sue you for it. It's just kind of like a nice gesture to be like, hey, like here's some publishing, like whatever. Just I don't know anybody like that. Like I don't know Kendrick. I don't know Lil Wayne like that. I did write him when he was in jail the next year. I did write him and say, hey, thank you for not suing me for using your song. He was very like, oh yeah, awesome, man. Appreciate it, no problem. So, but yeah, so it's basically supposed to be protected under law, and so I've yet to be challenged on that, God willing. So yeah.
I asked one time, like tribute bands, if they have to get permission from the groups, and they don't have to get permission from the groups to sing their songs. I always wondered if there was any issues with that as well. My guest tonight has been Aaron Taylor on my podcast. He is a cultural commentator. He also is a social media influencer, songwriter, filmmaker. And he's been gracious enough to join me on this podcast. I enjoy talking music, just his process. Is there anything else you want that we did not discuss that you'd like to talk about?
If you guys want to check out my stuff, you can go to
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You can go to youtube.com/APT songs. My TikTok handle is also APT songs, and we're launching the APT songs website. By the time this comes out, it'll probably be up. But yeah, you'll be able to go to APT songs, check out my music. You can go there to buy my music and other merch. Appreciate the support through all the years. Like I've been doing this since 2008, and people still follow my stuff, still like listening to what I have to say, and that's not taken for granted. So I appreciate that.
Well, I just tabbed on as a follower as well, so I'm looking forward to it. And Aaron, I can't thank you enough. I know you're busy. I'm honored that you came on my podcast, and maybe we can connect down the road as well, talk more music and anything else you have coming up.
Oh yeah, appreciate it. I'm always down to talk about music stuff.